Hey everyone, I'm Andrew, Chief of Software at Vercel. Good friends of Garrett.
Welcome to the podcast, Andrew. Nice to have you.
Likewise.
So day 2, reInvent. How are things going so far? It's a little
Things are
bit
great.
crazy,
I
but
think the energy is amazing. I'm sure you've seen it at your booth as well.
yeah, the energy is great. Tell me a little bit about kind of what you're cooking up currently at Vercel. What's the latest?
Yeah, so at Vercel, we are very focused on building agents.
Okay.
Building agents for our customers, building agents internally, enabling everyone to have an agent on every desk. That's what we want.
So I think, a lot of this year has been figuring out like, okay, what do we actually do with agents? How do they work? Tell me about like how is Vercel finding the ways to make agents real production workloads
For sure.
and them actually providing real value?
Yeah, great question. The first thing that the CTO and I love to do is we go up to functions at Vercel and
Okay.
ask them, what do you hate most about your job? And we found a
I
very
bet you get a
compelling-
lot of answers.
We get a lot of answers, a lot of different responses. But from one compelling use case was our VP of data. He's a really cracked data scientist, set up all the pipelines, all of the warehouses, all the ways that we do analytics overall.
Yeah.
And so anytime there's a question about sign-up rate, installs, deployments, V0,
Yeah.
everyone has to go and take up a little bit of his bandwidth, and he has to go take time to write the query, analyze it, and
Ooh.
get back results. So
That's
it's a very big break from his focus work, as you can
that's a
imagine.
big choke point on productivity. It all
Exactly.
has to go through him.
Exactly. So I worked with him for a few weeks to sprint on building D0.
Okay,
It's a
D0.
data science V0,
Okay.
very similar to our existing product, but it takes exactly what he does, the processes in place. So the looking at the semantic catalog, the breakdown of what he needs to query for, the writing of the actual query, the joining of everything, and then the actual execution, the fixing of the execution, and then reporting. So
Wow.
it's an agent that will automatically do all these steps, and it will autocorrect based on certain heuristics as it goes.
Yeah.
And it'll come out with a 90% accuracy results as
Okay.
if the VP of data himself wrote it
Okay.
and analyzed results.
And then what does that actually look like? Like who's consuming this? How's that actually getting used inside of Vercel?
Right. So it's fully deployed Vercel.
Okay.
We use the Nitro backend. You can also have used the Next.js app and using a server endpoint. Either way works.
Yep.
We have a Slack adapter called Vercel Slack Bolts. We built a very easy helper to spin up a Slack webhook receiver on any Next.js project.
Yep.
On any Vercel project. And we also built the agent fully with the AI SDK,
Okay.
as well as with a lot of connections to Snowflake, using asynchronous tasks run by workflow,
Okay.
and the execution happens all within Snowflake as well. And
Nice.
so the stack is very normal. It's
Yeah.
Hono, AI SDK, built on Vercel, using Slack receivers built on Vercel.
So that means like anyone in Slack can pose a question
Yeah.
to this bot.
You tag at D0,
Uh,
what is the sign up rate from last month compared to this month?
Wow.
We have the latest in Slack features to do streaming coming in from Slack.
Uh-huh.
Slack actually recently released a very nice way to do streaming responses as well as like
Mhm.
the thinking sort of like glimmer.
Oh, I
and
see.
so it actually looks more agent first
Yeah.
rather than just seeing like nothing happening at all.
You send a message, you wait for 5 minutes, and a response comes
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
Now you actually see
Now you actually
its
see
process.
the thought process
Oh.
without, the traditional way of doing this is you would send a message and you would edit the message over and over. But even from one message, you
Oh,
would hit
yeah.
the rate limit that Slack has. And so they built a first way to do this, a first party way to do this that doesn't hit the rate limit and doesn't use some hacks to get around it.
I see. Okay, so practically, like, what kind of was the results of doing this? Like, now that you have D0 deployed internally, like, what kind of things have you seen?
Yeah, I actually need to, that's a good reminder. I actually need to go do these analytics myself. Luckily, we've had easily over 200 queries served by D0. And so if I were to do a rough estimation, 200 queries times 20 minutes, we've saved the VP of data 4,000 minutes of his time.
That feels conservative. 20 minutes feels pretty
It
conservative.
feels very
on, like,
conservative.
understanding what it is someone wants,
Exactly.
going and figuring out the query, even if he is really good, which I'm sure he is.
Exactly.
Writing the query, going back,
Yeah.
maybe having to iterate, oh, no, I actually meant this, right?
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah, it's very conservative, but we've saved a lot of time so far. And it's also a very public way of doing this. If you were to DM him, that may happen once, but that's not repeatable. But then since we have at D0 in a public channel,
Mhm.
everyone can see historical runs. You can see where the prompts went wrong, maybe
I
where
see,
the analysis was a little off, and we can go back and correct it.
I see.
So we're
So
constantly improving on it.
if I was trying to do something, I could say, oh, Andrew already tried to do this or did a very
Exactly.
similar thing.
Exactly.
So I can just sort of riff off of that
Exactly.
and run the query that
You
I
can search
want.
in channel for like deployments since, and you'll find every single time someone else or even yourself
Okay.
have
Yeah,
asked, how many deployments have we had since blank?
I see. Interesting. So when will us mere mortals be able to do anything like this?
Funny enough, I actually open sourced this
Oh, you did?
at our event Ship AI. We have a open source version of it called OSS Data Scientist.
Okay.
I don't know the exact URL, so I don't want to say it right now, but
Okay.
it's available on GitHub. And it's a lightweight version of what we have. It's basically the same system prompts, the same harness for the agent. We simplified down from Snowflake to SQLite, so it's
Okay.
easier for you to run just with one install.
Yeah.
But it has all the bells and whistles in place. It's very good.
Okay. Yeah. Very interesting. I knew at WorkOS we use Snowflake, so actually like that would
Oh,
be the
then
kind of
even
thing.
better. We
that
should
would
work
be the kind of
together to get D0 into
Yeah.
WorkOS.
I mean, that would be great. Like, for us, like we have Snowflake, we have tooling to like write queries.
Yeah,
I obviously know SQL, I can write queries, but like,
yeah,
there's a bunch of people that don't have that expertise,
exactly.
but have questions they need to get answered. So
Exactly.
like, it's something we've kind of been looking at like, okay, how would we solve this problem?
It's a very big problem, and there's so many companies trying to solve this.
Yeah.
But the one thing they lack is a lot of context that is specific to the organization.
Yes.
So, like, there's a bunch of text-to-SQL companies that will just take your raw schemas and then try to spit out what they think would be a
Yeah.
join pattern. But, our VP of data spent time hand tagging certain columns with more metadata, getting the sample values for
Yeah.
low cardinality
Yeah.
columns. And a lot of the tricks he does that he normally employs himself actually make our agent better than the leading text-to-SQL agents out there.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. We did in a hack week, this kind of thing of like, oh, can we get some AI to like write SQL for us? And actually it was that context piece that was actually
Yeah,
the most difficult bit. Is
exactly.
that it didn't really know how to query the tables together in a way that
Right.
was productive.
Yeah, I mean, they make joins that seem right, but it doesn't actually get the results you want.
Yeah, and I'm sure this is true to some extent for cells, like, your tables and your data have been built up over time. So,
Yeah,
it's not like all
yeah,
nicely designed,
exactly,
clean, one
exactly.
shot, like, oh, why is that thing like that? Oh, well, we built it one way. It kind of had to change, right? There's always like, it's always a little more complicated than you'd like it to be.
Of course.
Wow, that's very cool.
Yeah,
I'm going to have to check that out because I think we'd use that. I'd use that myself. It'd be really nice.
yeah.
I can write SQL, but it'd be nice if I didn't have to.
Me too.
You know?
I used to handwrite all these SQL queries. I felt bad for asking the VP of data, but now I can just add D0 and I
Yeah.
don't feel bad and I save myself and him a lot of time.
Yeah, that's awesome. Another thing that I know y'all have recently announced is sign in with Vercel.
Yeah.
Very near and dear to WorkOS's heart doing authentication. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, firstly, I believe that you'll support Sign with Vercel real soon.
By the time people are watching this, we will support sign with Vercel. So yes, we are cooking that up right now.
That's great. Yeah, Sign with Vercel. I think it's a very great way to spin up new use cases that leverage a lot of things that we already have built on Vercel.
Yeah.
So, we have this V0 Nano Banana playground. It's a way to use the latest Nano Banana generations, but, credits aren't cheap. And
Yeah.
so Sign with Vercel is actually very good at enabling you to bring your own credits to a hosted app on Vercel. And so
I
we
see.
can actually tap into your account. We can load your credits on the UI, even though this is a separate application. And you can draw down from your credits on Vercel with just signing in.
I see. So give me an example of like kind of some of the use cases you've seen for this so far.
And so the Nano Banana Playground is a really good way. People can now spin up new AI applications, new agent runners, and then use their customers' credits to be built through. So you don't need to set up your own Stripe account. You just tell them to go load up their Vercel accounts,
I see.
and then they can use the gateway credits.
Yeah.
We also think this would be a really good way to spin up new deployments on your customers' behalf.
Mhm.
They sign with Vercel, and then you can start authenticatedly deploy onto their account, templates or doc sites or marketing sites. And so it's a way to
Oh.
enable you to build on Vercel for your customers without necessarily doing a lot of plumbing necessary to white label Vercel.
Yeah, so I'm providing some service, some kind of maybe it's sort of I want to actually deploy onto the customer's environment.
Exactly.
And so I can just deploy directly into Vercel, like this code that I've written
Yeah.
or
As long as they sign
this
with Vercel.
AI
Exactly.
logic,
Yeah.
that's going to use their credits. And so it actually simplifies.
Their credits, their accounts,
Yeah.
their tenancy. But
That's a
through-
big thing too, because like, security teams are worried about like, okay, well, what is, another kind of vendor that, where is this going to go? Where
Yeah.
is this running? It's like, oh no, actually you control the deployment, you
For sure.
control where it's running. And they already trust Vercel, they're already using it. So that's really cool. What's status? Is it available to everyone? Like, can I use it today?
Yeah, it's very generally available. There's even I'm not sure if I can say it on a Work OS podcast, but BetterAuth
That's
is
okay.
a okay, cool. They're an open source library for implementing authentication. They have a first party Vercel support. You simply init with Vercel as a
Yep.
social provider, generate a client token and key on the Vercel dashboard, and you're in business.
Nice. Very cool. Well, yeah, by the time people are watching this, they're about to do the same thing with Work OS. So stay tuned for that.
Excited for it.
Yeah, it's exciting. We love the power of, we see a lot of applications and companies that are trying to do these kinds of models where they want to make it easier to bring in third parties into their application, build on what other people like Vercel have built. And it really just smooths the overall like customer adoption journey for
Yeah.
them. So, people don't want to have to reinvent the wheel, whether that's authentication, whether that's like deploying apps or,
For sure.
AI gateways. So, these
We
kinds of
think
things are
everyone
really
can build on
useful.
Vercel.
Yeah. Workos builds on Vercel. Why not everybody else?
What everybody else. Exactly.
Very cool. Switching gears a bit. Obviously there's just like a pretty big update to the MCP spec. I know you spent a lot of time. You've been to some of our MCP nights.
Yep.
You've spoken there. Curious, kind of like, what is most interesting to you right now in the world of MCP and I guess even like agents and agent identity generally.
Are you specifically talking about the new update to the auth spec for MCP or just
Yeah,
overall?
obviously at WorkOS, we're pretty
Yeah.
interested as the authenticate changes, but it doesn't have to be that. Like, if there's
Yeah.
other interesting things happening with MCP, like,
There was the new MCP UI that was spec'd out
oh yeah,
that Anthropic and OpenAI apparently collaborated on,
yeah,
allegedly. But it
allegedly,
should be a unified way of shipping UI in MCP servers.
yeah. Have y'all been taking advantage of that at Vercel either internally or doing anything externally with it?
Yeah, I mean, I've built this Next.js starter so you could ship MCP UI compatible apps in ChatGPT.
Okay.
Kind of a tongue twister, but the first way that they designed the ChatGPT apps was that they made you ship static JavaScript, HTML, CSS
Yeah.
bundles to the clients.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a little counterintuitive compared
Yeah.
to all the progress that the web has made.
It's pretty rigid.
It's pretty
They're
rigid.
like, oh, the static thing that you can't really change very
yeah,
easily.
static page that they inject window variables into for your read.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. It's certainly a good first step. But we think that the web can be more rich. That
Yeah.
you can do a lot more with server-side rendering, with getting the data context on the server. There's a lot of things you could do when you're not constrained with client-side bundles.
Yeah.
And so I built a way to actually run Next.js in a ChatGPT app
Wow.
without just rendering an iframe.
Yeah.
We have a whole blog post on this I published. It's very lengthy because there's a lot of tricks you need to employ to get the assets to load from the right pattern.
Okay.
It's like a triple embedded iframe architecture to run a ChatGPT app.
Sounds simple.
Sounds very simple, right? But it's a very interesting space where people can now embed rich UIs.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of people shifting focus to trying to create these widgets and these nice experiences to be run in chat apps and as agent feedback to the user.
Yeah. I'm curious, like, where do you see this kind of going where obviously with these UI bits embedded in like chat interfaces, people can kind of build like richer app experiences in like a chat GPT. But then, there's all these tooling and Vercel has a lot of tooling around like, oh, I want to build my own kind of like AI application, AI like first class thing that I control.
Yep.
There's obviously some tension there between like, do I build inside of ChatGPT to get distribution? Do I want to retain control of my like own application
Yeah.
surface? Like, where do you think that's gonna go?
Yeah, I certainly don't have a exact recommendation.
Of course.
There's many ways to go about this.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think building on existing big platforms is good, as you mentioned, for distribution, as for visibility.
Yeah.
But I think there are some reasons why you would want to own more of the stack yourself. If you, for example, well, one thing I like to say is, MCP is actually overrated if you are owning the agent yourself. And so, if
Yeah.
you're ChatGPT and you want to let people integrate, of course, expose MCP, let people to build servers that will then be surfaced on chatgpt.com.
Yeah.
Alternatively, if you're an MCP developer, then you want to go for these platforms that let you integrate.
Yep.
If you can control where the agent runs, so if you
Uh-huh.
control the model inference call, if you control where the tools are running, MCP is a non-needed abstraction here. You
Yeah.
have direct access to the tools you want to run,
Yeah.
and you have
yeah.
direct access to how you're going to prompt it to use the agentic loop anyway. So in this case, I think MCP is actually extra overhead.
I see. That makes sense. Like MCP is sort of this like modern, maybe I'm dating myself, like RCP kind of thing where it's like you don't really trust the other end, so you
Yeah,
need this sort of
exactly.
authenticated, well-defined interface versus if I'm building my own agent,
Yeah, if
right?
you trust both ends,
Yeah, I trust the agent code. I have to like ensure people aren't
yeah,
doing malicious things, but
exactly,
I control the services behind it.
exactly.
So yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think it'd be really interesting to see, like what kind of apps work best inside the ChatGPT. Like obviously, I think like consumer applications in many cases are gonna kind of trend towards that stuff, right? If someone's
Yeah.
daily driver is ChatGPT, you might need to be there for them.
I mean, I think omni-channel will always be the case, right?
Yeah,
Especially in e-commerce. You may have your own storefronts built on Shopify, built on Vercel, built on any of these other e-commerce platforms, but you'll also partner with the likes of Amazon or the Best Buys of the world to get your product on a larger platform.
yeah,
So I think omni-channel branding and deployments will still always exist.
yeah. I agree with that. I also think the like potential onboarding discovery path through these LMs where it's like the ChatGPT, if you're trying to do something, it's like, oh, you could use this thing. And through like an MCP server or whatever, or MCP UI, you can actually like sign up and get started using that
Right.
application, whether it's
Yep.
Vercel, WorkOS, whatever. And then maybe at some point you need to eject and go into the app, right? And making that process really smooth so
Right.
that, people are trying to get stuff done. They don't want to like leave, sign up, come back. They just want to like do their thing.
Exactly.
And if they can do that really well, and then, eventually maybe they get to a point where they need to do something that's not supported inside of the chat interface.
Exactly.
Like that's a really good opportunity.
Exactly. I mean, the chat interface can get you partially the way there,
Yeah.
sometimes maybe even closer, but native interfaces will certainly always get you all the way there.